All right, let's do the solid rear axle now. So again, we need wheels, we need shocks, we want non-independent steering, and we want the steering axles, and we'll add our sway bar. So Shift D, Y, move it down here so we can work on it. Oh, we need one other thing. We need our solid axle constraint, which is right here. So Shift D, Y, keep it along the Y axis, and we'll move it right on top of our wheels. Okay, about right there. And let's just move stuff around here. We're going to move our shocks so they're basically right there. We'll move our steering down so it's basically right there. And we'll put our sway bar in front here. Okay. And we'll just adjust things a little bit. Let's move our sway bar in some. And this way some. Something like that. Okay. All right, let's move this, or let's move this up to here. And let's get the cursor in the center of the two wheels. Shift S, cursor selected. Now I need to add a rigid body. So Shift A, mesh, cube, scale it down about this size, and scale it along the X. So it's about like that. We want to call this solid axle. Okay. And we want to make it a rigid body. And we'll just steal a mass driver here. Copy driver. Paste driver. We'll make this 100 or 50. It's fine. And let's make it 100. Okay. All right, so we have all our pieces now, but nothing's connected. So let's go ahead and connect our solid axle. We're going to connect it from the subframe to the solid axle. We need to connect our steering motor to the solid axle. Kind of have a mess with our shocks here. So I think this is this side. So here's the bottom of the shocks. Let's move it up. We'll move it in. Okay. And we want to move our steering axles in to about right there, which means we probably want to move this in some. X. Okay. That looks pretty good. And our sway bar, we could just move that up. So G, C. All right, that's just a little bit confusing. Actually, if this is going to be steering, we need to be careful about that probably. So let's move it in to about right there. And let's check that up here too. All right, we need to move this in some to about right there. Yeah, that should be good, I think. So there's gonna be a chance it's gonna interfere with the wheel. We'll just have to be careful about that. Okay. So when it steers, so GX, let's move that in some. All right, so we have all that set up. Now we just need to do our connections. So let's start with our steering again. So we already attached that. We want to connect this to our upright and the other side also. Upright. The steering axles need to go to the upright and the solid axle. Same thing on this side. Solid axle and upright. Okay. What else do we need? I think we just need to do our sway bar. So these axles need to go to the subframe. And these Z-links need to go to the solid axle or the upright. Okay, so that should work. We just need a fixed constraint to constrain it to the subframe. So let's get a fixed constraint. It's right here. Shift the Y, and let's just move it down there, and we'll move it up. And the first one here needs to be the CG. It's right here. Oops, I got the controller. CG. And then we need to connect it to this subframe. There we go. All right, let's move everything up so it's closer. Right there. And that should be good. Let's make a couple collections here first. And we'll move everything into there. We'll make 3 collections. So they are down here. We're going to do base. Then we're going to do double wishbone. And we'll do solid axle. Okay. So our base is going to be our body, rigid body, all this stuff, our controller and all that stuff. Our steering wheel empty. So let's move that into that collection. Base. Let's move the double wishbone stuff into our double wishbone and move our solid axle stuff model into the solid axle. There we go. All right, now we can test and see if our solid axle is working. So make sure to save and then press play. And it does not. So we forgot to do something, which was connecting our shock. So let's select this one, the bottom of the shock. We'll attach it to the upright. Same thing on this side. And we'll do the same thing for this. Or we'll connect the top of the shock to the subframe and the top of this shock to this subframe. There. All right, now let's see if it works. And it sort of does, but it's acting a little nuts. So I'm going to try and diagnose that real quick. Okay, I think I figured out the problem here. And what you want to do is apply the scale to these parts. We probably want to just apply the scale to all the meshes. But if you apply the scale to these parts, the sway bar rigid bodies, it should work. So yeah, it seems to be working now. But probably what we want to do is, I'm going to save it first. I haven't done this operation before. I'm going to select all by type, and I'm going to select all the meshes and do apply scale. And I think that worked for everything except for the camera, which made it really huge. So let's scale it down, move it back where it needs to go, about right there. And hopefully that worked. And we'll press play. And that seems to have solved the problem. That's of course something we do after we apply it to the model. But this will be good here.